Hey guys, Tarke here, and I want to talk about the post Chris Wilson made on the Path of Exile subreddit, and this really frustrates me, not for the reasons that you expect. I'm going to go into everything, but before we start, I just want to open with something. I'm incredibly frustrated with this. So they've acknowledged early on that the player count has gone down. They expected it, they fully prepared for it. They knew they were going to be making a lot of changes that they felt were important. They knew weren't going to be popular. They prepared and were like, we're okay with the numbers going down a bit. Good. That's very good. That we're now rushing a bunch of very important changes and then not rushing not important changes, and that makes zero sense to me. I've been purposely withholding feedback because I wanted to fully test the new systems and have an informed opinion. If I'm in a position, I know a lot of content creators are in the similar positions because we've been giving feedback, and a lot of us have been saying, it's a bit too early to say with the whole flask and ailment thing, we're going to get back to you. If we're all kind of saying, let us really mess around with the system, let's really think, like, let's really get a solid grasp of what we think of this system, and you're just knee-jerk changing it, what was the point of even doing it in the first place? It's the same thing with the mana situation. And yet, for the stuff which doesn't really matter, they're holding their ground, and that's completely backwards to me. I'm going to get into the specifics, but I just need to explain this point because it's incredibly frustrating. A big part of 3.15 was to fundamentally address parts of the game that GG felt had sort of, it let it get crazy power corrupt. They're trying to reclaim the game's identity. And then you have these major overarching systems, and within days of the league going live, we're already reverting stuff and going backwards. And yet on the tiny minuscule stuff that doesn't matter outside of the scope of one league, that's what we're holding our ground to. I'm not saying that we don't need changes to mana, that we don't need changes to the way that ailment stuff work, but like, it's too early to be making changes. You did this in Heist. I get incredibly frustrated with the knee-jerk reactions. Let players sit with something. If something's a problem, let it be a problem for a week, and then everyone can be fully informed of this is exactly what the problem is. Okay, cool. So, let's get into it. So this is just like a bunch of bug fixes and explain the hotfixes. Fine. So what's actually changing? Can the merchant vendor window show how many artifacts you have? Yes. It's not ready, but it'll be coming soon. Good. Exhibition vendor refresh currency is too rare. Gwen's is at a 4 times rate. They're going to increase the others. They haven't decided yet. Be coming soon. Okay, cool. Were the mana cost multiplier changes on support gems too extreme? Yes, they were too extreme, based on feedback and data reviewing them, and we'll be producing many, but not all. And it'll be coming at some point soon. Right, first issue I have. I understand the mana thing. I purposely played exsanguinate traps as a way to work around mana. There's nothing wrong with putting barriers in the way, as long as you give people tools. Instead of reverting the mana cost multipliers, introduce new tools. If players have to spend 5-ish passive points to solve a problem, but they've got interesting solutions and varied solutions, and they're not doing the same solution every single time, that's a good system. Instead of going backwards on the mana cost changes, introduce new ways for players to interact with mana. The main issue I have with them doing these changes so quickly is people aren't adapting their playstyle. They're playing the game the exact same way they played it last league, and they're not trying new things. Give players a week. Let players try and exhaust their options, and if it's still a problem, okay, we go back. This frustrates me. It's good they're doing some change, people are really struggling with it, but this isn't the solution. It is a easy, band-aid fix. Yes, it means that next league, they could revisit mana, and then they could introduce some more interesting, more nuanced takes, but stuff like this does very frustrate me. Same thing coming with ailment and cursed immunity. Ailment immunity granted by fast is being increased from 1 second to 4 seconds. Staunching will make you immune to corrupted blood if they remove corrupting blood. Arctic armor grants freeze immunity. Aquamarine is being buffed from 40 to 60% freeze reduction. The map mods that curse the player no longer apply the curses with increased effect. Same deal. So they're like, okay, ailments, 1 second's not enough. Okay, where do we go? Do we maybe try 2 seconds? Do we maybe try 3 seconds? No, 4 seconds. It's just an extreme going from one to another. This is better than the old system, especially when it comes to having like freeze removal on a life flask now. If he has freeze removal on a life flask, this is an insane buff because you use the life flask once and then you have immunity for 4 seconds. This also pretty much renders the Brine King Pantheon useless because it just gives the Brine King Pantheon. The 1 seconds was a bit rough. I feel like they could have experimented with 2 or 3 seconds even. I'm not as against this one, but again, I'm very frustrated with this idea of such a rapid and massive change. Like, this is such an extreme from where we were at with 1 second to 4 seconds. It's mad to me, especially since they see the problem and solution here. Like, the Arctic armor change is excellent. Weird it doesn't also grant chill immunity, but this is an excellent change. It's like, okay, Arctic armor, not very popular, has some niche use. Well, it kind of makes sense that Arctic armor protects you from Arctic. Let's give it freeze immunity. Give players more options like this. This is kind of what I want to see. I would much rather that we saw more and more options like this, because this is basically just putting us back to the old ailment system. Yes, we don't have as easy uptime of our flasks, and they're still trying to make us being reactive instead of proactive with flasking things. But like, guys, no. The Aquamarine flask change is good because it's like they're trying to have a specific flask or a specific problem. I like this. The map mod curse thing, I like this change because this means that you can now be like, okay, I'm going to play around the curses by stacking a reduced curse effect. Give more options to deal with curses. The things that I agree with from this, I feel like the corrupting blood change, yes, that was silly at 1 second. That should have been a 4 second thing. The ailment stuff, though, I feel like that was kind of too early to tell. Nerfing Goatmen, sure. Okay, that doesn't really matter. This, though, this is the other level of my extreme frustration. The amount of currencies and splinters in Expedition doesn't matter. This matters. Mana cost matters. Ailments matter. Why are you being so quick to change these and then holding your ground over this? That makes zero sense to me. And I completely understand why you've got 4 vendors and each vendor needs their own type of currency. Because if they don't have their own type of currency, then players will just use whichever vendor is the most profitable. Okay, and I can understand why you have different tiers of currency. It makes sense. You're trying to have a thing where you have the more high value ones and the less value ones. Because if it was just one currency for everything, then you would never interact with 90% of the trades because it's like, oh, I don't want to waste my currency on this. I need to save it for the headhunter or the 10 exalts or whatever, right? Okay, I understand this. They try and avoid gold. I understand it. It's a very good news post. I recommend you read it. I can understand each vendor having a separate currency for rerolling, because again, if it was just a universal reroll thing, then you would just only ever use it on one NPC. I understand it. I understand why Danig has the currency exchange. Cool. None of this addresses the clicking, and the clicking is the issue. The issue isn't that there are so many types of currency. The issue is that we need to click on all different types of currency, and some of them are 4x4 items in our inventory. If they were all 1x1 items, it would be much better. And I feel like this completely misses the point. And it's funny because I recorded a video yesterday that I didn't upload because I felt like I was being too extreme. And I was calling out comments I was getting. And Chris has basically put those comments in there. So I'm very glad I didn't upload that video. So basically, when I made my video talking about how I felt like the splinters and the currency clicking was frustrating, one of the comments I saw quite a lot of is, Tarke, it doesn't matter that you're clicking too much on all the different types of currency, because once you've clicked all the chests to then click all the types of currency, you can then click on the NPC to then click on all the different things in your inventory. The fact that you can also put it into a chest, great, but you're doubling the amount of clicks. We're having to click 3-4 times as much as we have to. You have to click on all of the chests. That's one round of clicking. Too much clicking. We're then having to click to pick everything up. We're then having to click again to put everything away. And if you're doing it at the NPC, you're doing it wrong because it goes into your inventory and it gets jumbled into everything else. You're then wasting time having to sort through everything in your inventory to find the items to fit to the NPC. The way that most people are interacting with this, and the way you should be interacting with this, is you click it all goes in your inventory, you finish the map, and then you use the affinity system, so when you're putting stuff in your stash, it goes across. It's still too much clicking there. And because they sit in your inventory, and because some of them are 4x4 items, it limits the amount of other loot you can interact with, and that's not an interesting change. Yes, you can just use the NPC, but it's too much clicking in too short a window of time. I really like the league mechanic. I think logbooks are a lot of fun. I really like Expedition. I think Expedition is one of the best leagues we've had in a long time. There's a lot I really enjoy about Expedition. The clicking is crazy, and again, the fact that they're doubling down on this when this isn't something that matters. Like, this isn't a system which is going to be impacting how we play Path of Exile for the next 5 years. The mana cost and the ailment stuff, this matters. This is what you should be careful with. This is the stuff we like, you know what? It's too early. We're going to wait a bit. We're going to introduce new options. We're going to let players really, like... But yeah, I don't know. There are some good changes coming in. I'm glad that they are listening to player feedback, but at the same time, I'm incredibly frustrated that they're listening to player feedback this early and they're iterating this early. I've been saying since League launch, I'm going to wait to make my Flask video and my ailment video because I really want to experience it. I want to give proper feedback. And that is a mistake. And we've had this before with things, and I don't think we should be listening to people's knee-jerk reactions. Something I've been having to really try and focus on as a content creator is just letting things sit and trying to be more considered. And I realize I've been a bit reactionary just in uploading this video, but we should encourage players taking the time to think about systems before we go crazy, instead of rewarding players who shout the loudest and the fastest. That is not the way to get things done. People complain about the stuff they hate about Reddit, the stuff they hate about social media, but you reward that with the way that you engage with the community. But yes, I'm Tarke. Have a good day. Let me know what you think of these changes, by the way. Bye-bye.